Bonjour, bonjour. Could you hear me? Could you hear me? Okay, perfect. This meeting will be not recorded. It's record. Okay, okay. Let's wait 2 or 3 minutes that everyone is coming. All right. Perfect. Nice. So let's wait 2 minutes again. And then I will introduce Rob from Remix team. And let's go. Great. So hi everyone. Just good to see, well, soon 40 people there. So yeah, the goal of the session is to first of all meet Rob, who is like the real for Ramex, but also like to discover the tool Ramex because you're gonna use it, in fact, from for the Solidity bootcamps that are coming up next week. So will be really useful to get an overview of what it is, but also like probably perform a couple of action on your side to more get used about it. Rob, could you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. You can start.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Let's see. Maybe I'll jump right into my presentation. But Remix has been around for. Oh wait, to do that, I guess I better share my screen, which is right over here. Can you see my screen?
Perfect.
So actually, as I give this presentation, and if you have questions, either just like it's easiest for me if you interrupt with the audio, because if I'm sharing the screen, I won't see the notes or somebody, or we can go questions later. But anyway, so
I will tell you there is an equation on the chat as well.
okay, great. Um, So I'll make it official. So Remix has been around for almost 10 years now. And it came out of the Solidity team. So it's an online, or it's usually until very recently, just an online IDE. That means it's a space for you go to, it's a website, and you go there to code smart contracts, and you don't have to install anything. So everything's available right away. Um, it's well, maybe I should minimize that. There we go. Okay. Um, it's a tool for developing smart contracts. And it has been, and we're also expanding into doing front ends, but I think we're just going to talk about the smart contract part today. Uh-oh, there. Didn't want to go to the next page. So like you have to start with some code when or you start writing code, or you have to develop the code with some AI, or you have to get some existing contracts, and then you compile the code, which means like you're breaking it down into code the computers can read, so it doesn't look like Solidity anymore. But it turns it into two parts. One are opcodes, and one is like machine code, byte code, and we'll get into that a little bit. Then you have to, find the errors and fix them, and deploy, which means send it up to the blockchain, uh, and do those kind of blockchain interactions and improve transactions, and play with a contract when it's up there, test it, um, play with it, and use it in a DApp. Wow, that's funny. I guess I got to use the mouse. So a smart contract isn't really smart, and it's not really a contract. It's a computer program. Um, and you're going to see these stuff all the time. It's immutable. There are no intermediaries. So in this blockchain world, there's a lot of catchphrases, and immutable and no intermediaries, or just a couple of the things that um, are always happening, or people are always talking about. And it acts autonomously, which means like it just does stuff like send, if some condition is met, then something will happen. So it essentially sounds like a computer program. Um, so, whoops, I'm going backwards. That's crazy. So here's the layout. But you know what? I want to go right. Well, first I'll show this, and then I'll go back and forth between this and a demo of Remix. So there's an icon panel on the left. There's a side panel over here. If you click on one of these things on the side, then things will switch out over here. So it's a little bit laid out, but like VS Code, if you're familiar with that. There's a console and a terminal for feed for the printouts of what happened. This is the home tab, but this is usually where you'll code. And there's the AI assistant. Oops. And things can move from the right side to the left side. So let's just jump in here. Okay, here's Remix. And if I show you, like, there's the URL, remix.ethereum.org. And you come here, and this is the file explorer, and there should be some default contracts here. So like if we just look at one of them, like storage, and we'll make this bigger. Whoops. I better keep track of time, too. Take my watch off. Okay. So this is a simple contract program where you have the version of Solidity. So you have to use the right versions of Solidity, or the appropriate, you have to use the right compiler for the versions declared in your contract. And this one has two functions, store and retrieve. And let's compile it. So either you can click compile here. I'll just go over here too, so we can show that. So you can compile it, and then we're going to deploy it to a test chain. So actually, as you see now, you can see the gas gets printed out after you compile it. And gas is how you pay for stuff, or how much things cost when you use that function, or when you deploy to the chain. Because in blockchains, here in this case, we'll deploy it. First, we'll deploy it. And when you open this up, this is the deployed contract on the Remix local chain. So you don't have to approve anything. So there's two, and this one is store, and it's just taking a uint56. So that's a number that's never going to be a negative because there's no negatives here, and also it's not no decimals. So it's just a number, a whole number. So anyway, so let's save it like let's change that to 5. No, I want to make it 19. So we interact with that. So we're changing the state of this contract. And when we do that, it prints it out in the terminal that something happened. And we can expand that and show the result of that. But when something is orange in Remix, it means that you're saving something, so it's going to cost money. And when when it's blue, it means it's just retrieving information, or it doesn't have to do any it's not storing and it's not doing any computation. It's just retrieving. So in that case, it's free. That's why it's blue. And if you're sending value, like you can send this contract some money, then it would be red, because then you can send some ether to this contract. And that's when you learn about payable functions. So let's go back to the slide deck. So here, like, there's nothing on the right side, and Remix is fairly configurable. Like, you have this button here, and then if you hit it, it'll pop to the right side. I'm kind of going between this slide deck and the demo, so we'll be going back and forth some more too. So workspaces and Remix are just folders, and that's where you organize your work. And then the File Explorer is the files in that workspace. So the workspace files, you can choose workspaces up here, or you can create a new one up here. And this is just the File Explorer for the files in that workspace. And then if you want to make a new file in that workspace, then you go to the Create button inside that workspace. And you can also import files, and we'll get into some other ways of getting files into Remix, like cloning a repo. So, but you should check out the default files, because they have they're kind of like basic files, and you can play with them, and there's there are a lot of comments in them to learn what's going on in the Solidity files. Also in TypeScript files here, because you can also run scripts in Remix. So you make a new workspace. So when you make a new workspace, this modal will come up, and then you can choose a workspace to use. And there's the Open Zeppelin Wizard. I don't know if you've tried yet, but there's this company called Open Zeppelin, and they have a library of contracts, and they're very common for the coin contracts, and so this will import those. And you can clone a repo in a few different places, but one is over here. This is where you would log into GitHub, but you don't even need to do that to clone. So when you click that button, you get the clone button, and then, or you can open up a new workspace modal, and then you'll get the clone button over there. Actually, I'll just show you how it works. First, I'm just gonna copy that as a repo I want to clone, and we're in Remix, and then we go over here, and when you clone a repo, it makes a new workspace. So we'll clone the repo. I'll put whoops, I think I hit that twice. Okay, so we'll clone it, and then we're in deploy and run, so it looks like nothing happened. But when we go to the File Explorer, This is the repo, and it just has a contract with. There's one contract in the contracts folder, and these contract. This is if you're making your own. If you make a blank repo, you could organize this however you want. You could also come in here and erase stuff if you want. You can organize it as you like. Um, let's see what else I got over here. So we did that. Oh yeah, and so when we're in a repo, you can see this is the Git functionality. So like you're in this repo, or if you make a new one, you can initialize it for Git. But in this case, I'm pulling it in, or I cloned it in, and you can switch branches in the File Explorer. You can also go to the Git plugin and do some basic Git commands, pushes and pulls. Um, it's not too extensive, but you can do basic commands here. Uh, and I don't know. I kind of covered this, but here I'll make another workspace. Ooh. So in this case, yeah, let's just I'll show the coin contract. So I'll make a coin contract. I don't know if you've seen like these. You'll see these probably a lot. ERC20 coins or 721 coins. But when you add these features, like you want to make it mintable, so you can have a coin contract, but without making it mintable, you can't make any coins. So when you make it mintable, you're adding a different import. You make it pausable, um, and just in general, unless it's upgradable, you can't, once the contract is deployed, you can't change the contract. If you're to change it means you have to redeploy it and it will have a different address. In fact, why don't we look at the workspace I just created? But anyway, so well, first I'll finish this one. Uh, it's ownable and it's mintable, and we'll create the workspace. And we're back over here. So we have the token here, and we can deploy and play around with that. But going back to this other workspace I had, I think it was this one. We went over here. Oh, anyway, okay, so I'll take this, and I'm just taking this one again. I'm going to compile it. I'm going to deploy it. So here, it's on a test chain in the browser, and the address is here. So this contract has an address. It's all the 0x stuff. Also, look, this is in this test chain, it gives me 10 or 15 addresses, each with 100 test ETH in them. So that's good to know. And so these are EOAs, externally owned accounts. And so that means that's just a fancy way of saying it's not a contract, it's an account. And this is an account created this is a contract account. And so let's see what's the next in the here. Oh yeah, so when you're saving files in Remix, unless you're using Remix Desktop, which I'll get into a little later, you're saving things in browser storage, which you can lose your work if you erase your storage or if it just gets corrupted. So it's important to push it to an external repo. I mean, it doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. So you should be a little careful if you're saving work for any length of time or of any importance and push it to a remote repo. But if you're using Remix Desktop, then you're using your desktop. So it's not as feeble as browser storage. That's the link for downloading Remix Desktop. So you can even try it out. I'll do a demo of it a little bit later. But it's got native terminals. You can also work between VS Code or any other editor you like and use Remix for all the Web3 tools. So I'll show that later. Just the Solidity compiler, just again, note that you switch the compiler versions here, but it will select if your contract has this, it will select an appropriate version. But sometimes if you have a contract that's importing a lot of contracts, you have to select a version over here. And I don't know if you heard about the different Ethereum forks, but each Ethereum fork brings more functionality more functionality to Ethereum itself, and the Ethereum virtual machine version is important to know which one you're using. Sometimes, like if you have an old contract, it will be an older EVM version, and if you're trying to interact with an older contract and you have a newer contract, there might be some conflicts. Okay. Going back over here. Okay, so when you're deploying, if you're deploying locally like I did, then you're saving it on the local blockchain. But there are things called test nets, which are more realistic than what's in Remix. So you have to approve each transaction, but you also have to have gas money to save the contract on that test chain. And so you have to go to like some faucets to get some of the testnet ether. And then you can view your contracts on block explorers. So you deploy to a public chain and it's visible to the public. So it's nice to know that you can go to some other browser and check out what happened. And here are some of the larger block explorers. And so that each block explorer will probably have a different URL for each chain it's cataloging. Oh yeah, okay. So when you're going to deploy, you have to know, like, if it's the Remix VM, you're deploying to the Remix VM. If you're going to want to deploy to a public testnet, then you can either use a browser wallet like MetaMask or Robbie Wallet. You can use Wallet Connect so you can approve transactions off your phone. And if you have a local node running or using something like Infura or Alchemy, you can connect to a HTTP provider. And if you want to have like the Hardhat node or the Foundry node, then you have to be using Remix Desktop. And then you can connect to that. It's just a local chain. It's a little bit more advanced than the Remix VM, but it's essentially the same. Okay, so we tried that. So let's deploy to a public testnet. Oops, this way. So I have it's compiled, and we go to deploy and run, and we select injected provider MetaMask. So I have MetaMask set up. Setting it up to select Sepolia is often going to be a little bit confusing, but I'm just warning you about selecting. You have to know the configuration settings for each testnet or each network you're deploying to. So you can use this link over here called chainlist.org, and then you can put in Sepolia, and if you include the testnet, you could, if you click that button, it will configure MetaMask or maybe even whatever browser you're on to configure it to that chain. Oops. Sorry. Good chunk. Okay, so we're on Sepolia and we're going to deploy it. Now we have to approve the transaction. So we're going to confirm it. And now it went through, and here's the address. Let's view it on Etherscan. So this is the contract. Another interesting thing is, whoops, to know is what this other button over here is about. If I had clicked deploy and verify, verifying contracts is important because when you deploy the contract, as we saw over here, you just get the address. And if you're interacting with this contract at this address, you don't know, the public doesn't know what the code is, so it could be malicious. So if it was verified, that means we've published the source code. And so I'll just do that again. And what's going on here? So the verification process is happening. And then okay, well, there was a problem with there's a few different services, and it just didn't like it on Sourcify, but it was okay on Etherscan. So if we view it here, we can see the code that I just published. So let's go back over here. Oh, deploying with the contract. Well, we kind of did that. Yeah.
Vanessa, you have a question?
Yes, I have a question, Rob. Please, what did you do differently to deploy the contract? Because the first time you deployed it, it was not verified. So what did you do to make it
Okay.
verified?
It's this little checkbox, and by default, it's checked, I think. This one over here, where it says deploy, verify contracts on Explorers. And when you click it, it says deploy and verify.
Okay, okay.
But there's also, if I take the first contract I deployed, I can take this contract, copy the address, and bring it over to the contract verification plugin. And I could select the chain and put the contract address. And you choose the contract name, and then you can verify it this way too. So you can verify it after it's deployed if you hadn't done it before.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Uh, let's see. So I'll get into the AI stuff, and I'll do a and also Remix Desktop. But yeah, also note in Remix, so like in deploy and run, like here, and you can stretch things out a little bit if you need more room. You can copy the address. But if you click this caret, you'll open up and see the functions. And then there's this other caret. So suppose like this contract had a lot of inputs, then you would see, if you open this up, you would see the inputs individually. So it's helpful, this caret, for some complicated functions. And then, let's see, go back to the thing. That's for copying the address. We deployed to the local name testnet. Yeah, okay. So we'll go to Remix AI now. So when you're choosing Remix, when you want to interact with the AI tool, it's good to select the context it's going to work in. That means, like, is it going to work on the file or on the workspace? And you get to choose your LLM. And it's great for explaining errors and code completion and code on request. Here. Oops, this way. So you know, there are these conversation starters here. So in this context place, there'd be no context. Actually, here, I'll show you a little thing too. So you get uh like you using that conversation starter, and then my 1Password starts up, and I don't know what's going on here. Uh, wait, what's going on? Sorry. Dunk. Okay. So, but it's hard to read, so you make it larger. Ah. Um, you can get rid of different panels here. But anyway, so you can make it wider. Um, but you have this, another one thing you can do is if you make an error here, like you forget a semicolon and you compile it, you get an error, and then you can ask Remix AI about the error, and it will explain what's going on. Looks like, you know, it flags that I forgot the semicolon. There's the corrected code. You can switch it to this, and you can say fix the error. The and it looks like it didn't fix it. So, you know, there's always something. Uh, what's going on? So it should, wait, it said, well, it says where to fix it here. We told it to edit it. Well, anyway, it says the word line number and and it explains the problem. Um,
Question.
so yeah.
Why Mistral AI?
So you can choose Mistral, you could choose Anthropic, and you can choose OpenAI, but it's I would say usually Anthropic's the best.
Okay, for smart contracts. Okay, it's the best. It's the best. All right.
And the other interesting one is Olama. So because LLMs are training all the time on your data, if you want to have private data, you should choose Olama. And actually, there's something called Olama Cloud, so it's a private LLM. And for just developing contracts, it doesn't cost anything. So if you're doing something private, that's a good way to go. You can also run it locally on your computer. Uh, I tried and running LLMs locally, unless you have a machine that's good for the LLMs,
Yeah.
is very, very slow. But
Every time, like in the industry, we mentioned that using AI for building smart contracts is kind of risky, complicated, and so the fact to see that Mistral AI is better to perform complex transaction, like complex coding stuff, and solidity is great to know. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so anyway, it's also good to know, it's like when you're selecting your context, well, this is the context. So it's important to know to set it which context you're using. And so the AI will scan this. Um, and so you could also like uh, tell it, another way to tell it to do something is to like write a function that adds two numbers. And then or if you you could do it over here and say like write a function uh, in in the storage contract that adds 17 to the variable. number. Let's see if it'll do it. Did it? Oh yeah, okay. So then once you accept it, then it'll be here. But you have to find that accept place to do that. Also in these in the File Explorer, there are these scripts, and like there was one deploy with ethers. Okay, so this is what I was playing with earlier. Like when you come here, let's make a new one. A default workspace, the basic, and you come to ethers, and this is a TypeScript to deploy something with ethers. So you could first you gotta compile the file. Oops, here. And then you run the script, and then it didn't work. That's funny. Try it again. Huh. That's the problem with live coding. Uh, well, the other one was working, so I'll just go back there, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure why that was not working. But I think it's not so important to debug that right now. So anyway, so I uh, I asked it to store 77 after it deployed it. So I think it just added these two lines. And what I had asked it to do was, and so basically what I'm telling you is that you can use the LLM to code a function in Solidity. You could also use it to code it in TypeScript. And you can use it to explain something in TypeScript too, like what is, oh, actually, you could just use this one, explain the script. Here, I'm just going to get rid of that. So it imports, it deploys the contract, and it logs, and it catches errors. But you can also add things to this deploy script. Let's see what we get. Okay, we've kind of done that. Oh, yeah, I'll just do two more things and then we can play with some kind of try things out together. Okay, so let's check out the debugger. And what was the other one? Oh yeah, Remix Desktop. Okay, let's look at Remix Desktop first. So here is Remix, my toolbar. Okay, this is Remix Desktop. It looks just like Remix, but what's going on is it's instead of it's running on my desktop. So to make I can open up a different folder here, and then it will open up a different instance of Remix with that folder. But the cool thing is I'm also connected in, come on, how do you make that disappear? The VS Code should be here. So I'm connected in Hardhat to the same folder. So if you're using Hardhat, you can use Hardhat and VS Code and Remix. And that means like I can kind of update this file here. And I can compile it here. And then I can take that compilation result in Remix and then deploy it. Oh, by the way, this is the red one, and that means that I can send value. And if I send value, so in this case, I'm using the Remix VM, but I could use Remix with a browser wallet in desktop. When it does that, it will open up a locally hosted browser that will connect to a browser wallet. And then, so once that's connected, then I can go back here and deploy it. This is also, oh, I need to have something in Unix time to deploy it, so I'm not going to do that now. But I could also send value, which is adding the value here. And so that's Remix Desktop, and let's go back to deploy and run over here. This is Remix Online. And we're going to go with back to the File Explorer, contracts. Here, what happens over here? New. We're going to yeah, I've noticed this happening. Sometimes the addresses don't load, so you just either have to refresh. I think that's going to get fixed in the next release, which is coming up in a week or so. So we're taking this. So when you refresh, interesting, you compile. The contracts that I had deployed before are not there. But if I had deployed this one, this is going to the Remix VM, and if I had pinned them, they would be saved. And let's just open that up. Oh, that's right. This is not which contract did I just deploy? Storage. Oh yeah, okay. This is I added a fancier version. This is one, that's right. This is one I add 17. So there's the add 17, but we're going to store a number here, and it's going to be 3. We're going to store it. Then we're going to go to the debugger. So as I said before, gas is figured out by opcodes. So each of these have a different price. And if you look at this one, like this was in this line here, store, there's a lot of different opcodes because each line gets kind of split up into opcodes, and you can kind of bounce through them. And each line here will have a different gas amount. So far it's 3, but S-Store has 22,100 of gas. So if there are a lot of things that required storage, which is S-Store, then your contract would be more expensive to deploy and to use. And that's a kind of interesting thing about blockchain programming is you have to make the code efficient so that the gas costs are low. And I think that's it. One other thing I wanted to show is that in the advanced part of the compiler, there's something called optimization. And sometimes you'll get asked to turn this off or on. That will optimize how the opcodes are created. So let's go back over here. All right, one last thing before the last thing is when you're on the Home tab, you can click Start Learning. So this is called Learneth, and in-app tutorials. So if you go to the Solidity Beginner course, you can, it'll walk you through a lot of principles of Solidity. And it gives you example files, and in some cases there are tests, and you can try to do something and it'll check, you can check the answer, or you can click show answer, and it'll show what the correct answer is. And there's a whole bunch of them here, so it's a good resource to know about. And the list should soon be getting longer too. Okay, so going back to what we should try together is try to make a new workspace, load storage, compile the file, find the ABI, which we didn't go into, deploy a contract, save a value, view it in the debugger, and check the gas usage per line. And here, the slides for this presentation are here. So then how should we organize going through it? Should I do it with everybody or?
Yeah, I feel that it should be nice to do together, and like this, they can also do it after, etc. Should be nice, yeah. But really cool. I didn't notice before that there is courses with some things to perform inside Remix already, which is very, very nice to know.
The thing I like about those courses is that you can like follow the instructions, but then you can just start going off on your own and just start exploring what happens if you go to static analyzers or use other tools in Remix or just start playing around and kind of ignore the tutorial for a while and then come back to it. So anyway, so should we, here, let's, I'll go backwards to here. This is Remix. So I'm gonna, make a new workspace. If you're coming to Remix for the first time, you don't need to make a new workspace, but I'm gonna create a basic workspace. And then I'll click Storage. So does everyone have that up? I don't exactly know when to go on, and I can't see anybody because I'm sharing the entire screen. So maybe, whoops,
Could you zoom?
just
Zoom? Ah, yes, perfect.
Also, if anyone has kind of questions about any of these contracts too, let me know. So we can compile it here, or we can compile it here.
Just asking,
And then,
on the educational part, is only on desktop?
no, it's on the online version too.
All right.
This is the online version here. I'm on, and it's here.
Okay. Thank you.
And so I'll go back here. So we've compiled. Oh yeah, another thing to note. Sometimes like you might sometimes get an error depending what contract you're using, because when you're in deploy and run, because you're not deploying the right contract. Sometimes like with a contract that's importing all other contracts, you'll have a big list of contracts here. And this one, there's no imports. And I can show you that a little bit later, but just that's a little thing to keep track of, that there's this contract folder, pull down select box, and you need to know that you're going to be deploying this contract. So that one, so we're ready to deploy. I'll deploy. And then we'll open it up. Actually, what are the other steps here? Compile, find the ABI. Okay, so we've deployed it, but we didn't talk about the ABI. Let's look at that. The ABI is in the Solidity compiler, and this is to copy the ABI. But let's take a look at what the ABI is. So the compilation details is the ABI is part of the compilation details. So this is what happens when the code gets compiled. This is the bytecode, which is the machine code. The ABI is here, and there's two. It's basically, as we see here. Come on. It's two files. I mean, it's a JSON file, and there's two functions. It's the names of the functions. Actually, it's going to be easier if I show it like this. I copy it here, I go over here, and in the build, in the artifacts folder, even here, here. This is the actually, that's that same thing. Okay, so I'm just going to make a new file here inside of artifacts. So you saw that modal that came up. Like if you're copying code into Remix, people often get scammed because they copy malicious code into Remix and then deploy it and then on real chains, and then they're trying to get rich and then they lose their money. So there's a warning about ask Remix AI to review your code to just kind of help verify that it's not malicious, though that's not 100% either. So you should really know what you're putting in or trust the source of what you're putting in. So anyway,
From where did you have now copied what you just pasted?
where did I copy it? I copied it from the compiler, which were here. We copied it in the ABI down here at the bottom of the screen.
Okay, thank you.
But that's like if you're going to be making a DApp in another, like you're going to do the back end in Remix and the front end in another tool, then you would grab this and paste it into the front end and use that you paste that into the JavaScript of your DApp because that it shows the functions without all what's inside the functions. It just shows the names of the functions. So it maps the names of the function to the function code. And because the deployed contract kind of messes up the function's name, so it's impossible to target a function without knowing the function's name in I guess English, in ABI or whatever in human readable language. I guess as you play with that, you'll get more familiar. Okay, so let's save the function. Use the store function to save a value. So let's open it up. And we're going to save a number here. And what was the other one? So we saved it. We'll view the transaction in the debugger, and then we'll check the gas. The gas appeared on each line after you compile it. We'll check the debugger. And I'm using step into to go through each step of the opcodes, which are over here. And here's the opcode, and here's the gas. And here's the gas amount for each function total. And then this is the amount per line. And as you click through that, those numbers should change. Okay. That's that part. So we actually, and we found the opcodes in the debugger. I also wanted to show you something else interesting. So this is the file that we verified on Etherscan. So here's the ABI that got verified. So we're going to copy it. Whoops. And we'll do that together too. In fact, actually, this might be a little complicated for everyone to do because they don't have access to the address. Unless I put it into the into this here. I might be able to. Oh, no, I'm not in performance mode. So you just here. I'll do this quick demo.
You
So
could
we're,
put it in the call.
oh yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so I'll take this address and I'll put it into the call chat. Where is that? Okay, so we got that here. And we're going back to Remix. Oh yeah, okay, so first we're gonna go here. We're gonna copy the ABI. You also want to connect. The tricky thing though is you need to connect Remix to Sepolia. So you need to have a browser wallet or some way of connecting Remix to Sepolia. So if you don't have a browser wallet installed yet, then you can't, I mean, it's going to be a little more complicated to do. So in any event, I'm going to connect mine. Actually, I'm going to first refresh mine. Just so I'm, so it's sort of starting from fresh. And then, so nothing's compiled. And so I go right to deploy and run. I go to MetaMask. So I'm connected. And then see this, because there's no compiled contracts, you only see this at address. So I go to this, and here's the address of the contract. So, and this would work with any verified contract. It doesn't have to be mine, it could be anybody's. And it's kind of interesting to go to one of these block explorers and browse a verified contract and just pull it into Remix and see what it's got. And so here's the contract address, but it needs more than just a contract address. It needs to have the ABI. So in this case, I need to make I'm going to make a new file in artifacts called, it's going to be store. Oops. So I need to go back to Etherscan, grab the ABI, and put it back over here. So Remix needs the ABI and the contract address. And now we can get it. So now I can interact with this contract that's deployed. And it doesn't have to be my contract, it could be any contract. We just need the ABI to be able to interact with it. So that's kind of like what a dApp is doing. It doesn't need to have the source code, it just needs the ABI, and then it can bring in the functions. And then you can play with the functions on the front end of your dApp. Any questions?
So, sorry. So had you just pressed add address for the last steps? I got a little bit lost. It was super
Ah.
fun.
Yeah, I just pressed add address, and then here, I'll do it again. So I had pressed add address, and it asked me if I wanted to interact with it, and I do, and then it kind of quietly brings it down here, and it has
Yeah.
add address, and then you can open it up.
Oh, perfect.
And so, like, if you're here in Etherscan, this you can go to verified contracts, and this little trick I'll show is only works with mainnet Etherscan. But if you're in mainnet Etherscan, and then you go to where is it? Blockchain verified contracts, and we could just go to like something here that might look interesting, like I don't know what this is about. Let's try this. Okay, so we take this verified contract, but we just want the address here in Etherscan. Come on. And we swap out Etherscan for remix.ethereum.org, and I'll open up Remix with that contract in Remix. So it's kind of fun to see like the source code of something. We could also bring in the just any verified contracts function just with the add address. And so like explain this contract. Oh, I see. It's looks like it's a library. I guess that's why it's called lib. And it looks like it didn't do it. Okay, let's switch to Anthropic. Okay. So that explains the contract. Any other questions or anything like any terms that you may have heard about that I mean Remix is kind of interesting because if you hear some term that's often used, maybe sometimes you can see it in action in Remix just because there's a GUI to click on.
I have another question. When you were just
Yeah.
talking about replacing the first bits of the URL, what did you replace it with? So it
The
was,
Remix URL.
yeah.
So that's remix.ethereum.org.
Okay, because for me it was like Polkadot and then it didn't work.
Yeah, that's Polkadot forked Remix and then put up something that didn't quite work and then didn't swap. Remix is open source, so other projects can fork us, but they're not allowed to use our branding, which Polkadot did.
I see. Okay.
So that Polkadot site's they're probably taking it down anyway, and it doesn't work. So
Okay, cool. Thanks.
another thing that's coming up soon is like let's go back to File Explorer. Right. So right now, it made when it brought in this contract, it brought it in this code sample workspace. So I want to go back to some other workspace, like the one I was working in, which was Basic 1, I think. You can rename these as you like. So it's good to know. Oh yeah. So first, what am I trying to do? I forget. I'm just kind of navigating around. Oh yeah. I forget what I was talking about. But here's another interesting problem that comes up. So in three ballot, we're going to compile it, and we want to deploy it, but there's a constructor variable here. So you can't deploy it unless you have the constructor variable. And the constructor variable is a bytes 32 array. And so in blockchain world, like a string is kind of expensive to store, and a bytes 32 is a more like machine code version of a string often. And in this case, it's an array of bytes 32s. And so it's going to be like, I need to make an input that is in a bytes 32 format. So it's good to use the AI tool to make that, like transform or convert the string, because this is a voting one. So Sheila to a bytes 32. And here's the result. So if I take that, actually I want to make it wider so I can grab it. And I copy it over here. And then I have to put it inside square brackets because it's an array. Let's see if this will work. Either because it needs a quote. Let's see if that will work. Didn't like it. Oh man, my fancy versioning, my fancy AI work. Okay, it looks like that should work. Oh well. Let's try it a different way. Convert this by this string array of strings, a bytes 32 array. Sheila. Right. So we're going to take this one, we'll copy it. We might have to change the format a little bit. I'm going to do it over here. Just so we're getting it all on one line. Maybe this will work. Oops. Maybe it won't. Okay, so we're over here. Take that, erase that, we'll put that in there, and we'll transact. I don't know. I'm not going to fix it now. I think we're out of time. But see, that's a problem that comes up, and then the tricky thing is, how do you resolve that? And so then I guess we could say why, I guess it should be the context should be it's really the file, current file. Why isn't that, I think, why isn't that transaction working? So, Yeah, the problem is now in the next version of Remix AI, you're going to be able to ask that question. In this version, you won't because it's not seeing the transactions that are happening. But as we connect it to our MCP, which is another word that you're going to be hearing a lot probably in your class, which is how AI connects to other APIs and LLMs and stuff. God, I didn't want to pause there. So much so much vocabulary words. Anyway, so the MCP is like when you're connecting to other services, and it's not this tool over here is not seeing what's happening in this tool. That's the short answer, but it will in probably 2 weeks. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it for solving that problem. Any other ways I can get myself into more trouble? I could show off something else if you're interested, or kind of at time anyway. I can't hear. Was there
There's also a question in the chat. I don't know if you've seen. How does the compiler version affect deployed contracts?
The compiler for with each version of Solidity, different functionality comes in. So if you have a new contract a contract that specifies like a very recent version of Solidity, but you compile it with an old compiler, it doesn't know what these new tools are, so the compilation will fail. So that's why and so when you're importing a contract that has some old functionality, but you're compiling everything with newer functionality, there can be some conflicts. So often you need to iron out the conflicts to get everything to compile correctly. Similarly, like the EVM version as well. And then there's some chains that aren't up to the latest EVM version. And so so you can't use newer versions of Solidity with those chains. Or you can't use a more recent EVM version. Another kind of important thing to just bring out again is that when you deploy something, if you pin it here in Remix, so that's pinned, and it's so if I refresh Remix, it will, and here I'll refresh Remix. It went to the older version. So I have to select the correct one here. And when I go here, it's back. But if I went to a different workspace, like this one, it would be gone. So you have to be on the same workspace, and you have to be to the same environment. So if I'm on a different environment, it'll go away. And let's see. So if I do a version of Remix, which is the kind of the next one coming out, so we kind of hit it behind the experimental flag in the URL. This is when the AI tool is more connected to the rest of Remix, and you can ask it quite a lot of other questions too. But in this case, I just wanted to show like you have this function. Well, here we're gonna. Oh, just before we get too deep into that, here's a kind of simple thing. So we've compiled this one. This is a contract about who is the owner. So it's the owner, an address is getting saved. So in the Remix VM, if you you can take an address and you can copy it, and then you go back to the first address. Oh, we're going to deploy it here. So we're deploying owner. It's here. I copied the owner address and I pasted here. If I'm connected to MetaMask, probably let's see what it looks. I have a lot of MetaMask addresses. Yeah. So there's a bunch of MetaMask addresses here. So I could choose the different addresses here. So that's what I wanted to show there. But for deploying to, so we're going to deploy to public public network. We're not going to bother to verify it at the moment. We're going to approve it. It's coming through. It's almost coming through. Here, it's through. Okay, so we open it up. We click this little button here, and it's going to create the front end of a dApp. So we can give it the title. It's just to get rid of that. We can give it a title. We can let's get rid of the right screen so there's more room here. Yeah, you should know about these 3 buttons. And you can make a dApp. This isn't actually the latest version of this, but this one allows you to make a dApp. The next version, I think, here, you should also know about the plugin manager. I'm gonna close this one and do this again. The plugin manager is where you choose different plugins, and that's an important version of part of Remix that I didn't explain before. So that's the plug here. So you can load up all these different plugins here. And I wanted to use this version. And then now when I go to deploy and I click this one, oh, we can put all this, you know, that you can describe the name of the function. You can publish this on IPFS. And then you can get the source code for your front-end dApp, the front end of your dApp. Okay, I think that's probably enough. I've only gone over by 20 minutes. Any other questions, or should we call it a session? Solen? Oops. Any other question? Wait, I'll check over here. Can we import? Oh, yeah. For importing smart contracts, you mean like inside a contract? Or because like you know, like if we can make a new ERC20 contract or 721 here. Well, this is the ERC one, whatever. So in this case, we're doing imports. So it's importing from the NPM, it's importing from the OpenZeppelin library. Here, I'll just create it. And in this case, Remix is grabbing it from via NPM or unpackage and is bringing it into Remix that way. So if it's a published package on NPM, Remix can get it. Or it could also be a URL to a specific contract that you want to import. And if you're importing, you know, otherwise you need to you can import a file via over here if you want. Oops, here, create. You can import files from HTTPS or IPFS, and then of course you can clone. Compilers are not dependencies, but interesting thing about Remix Desktop is that when you're using Remix Desktop, I mean, I guess you depend on these compilers, but they're kind of transforming the code. They're not in the code, and they're transforming it into machine code and opcode. But when you're using Remix Desktop, you can download compilers. So once you download the compiler, you can work offline. And especially if you're connected to like if you're just using the Remix VM or a Hardhat chain or the Foundry chain, the Anvil chain, then you can work totally offline if you've downloaded the compilers. But otherwise, compilers are like things that have to get imported into Remix, not into your code.
Hi, Rob.
Interesting question.
I don't know, there is other question. Is everything like finished on your side?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So yeah, like as I mentioned, the session will be recorded. I mean, has been recording, so I will put everything on YouTube. Then you can see this. You will be able to see it on the hub too. So just to let you know, share the slide. Yeah. You will share with me, and then I will share with you.
Great.
No worries. Thanks a lot for the insightful session. I mean, as everyone will start the Solidity Bootcamp from next week. I mean, it was kind of a requirement to know Remix first for going smoothly into it just next week.
Great. Yeah, good luck, everybody. It will be fun, I'm sure.
Very complete session, yeah.
Maybe
Nice.
too complete.
Super.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Rob. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Thank you so
Bye.
much.